Cloistered T-17 A-bomb. Fire Frenzy Meteors. Meteors with flasks are so annoying.
I need more mana.
Zoom, zoom.
Shall be remained.
Oh, Dodry.
You are hideous.
Yes, we should kill all totems. Forgot we have curses. We can put curses on him. Oh, he dies fast with curses. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right. Now let's go over the POB. First things first, we're going to go over items. Items are important. Everything is very meticulously selected. So we're going to talk about everything. First off, Grey Wind. You're going to want a Grey Wind that has high increased fire damage, 5 max rage, and 12% of players' maximum life. Now, I think I spent 2 div on this one, and then I corrupted it myself. I recommend that you do double corruptions on it just to limit the amount of jank that can occur. You will need a corrupted Grey Wind if you want to go for Everlasting Sacrifice. Next, we have a Foulborn Wrathpith Globe. I would not recommend corrupting these. This is actually the only thing expensive in the build. We do want a increased spell damage and increased damage over time. Foulborn Wrathpith. I spent, I think 18 div on this, and I spent about a total of 50 div on the whole build. Next, you're going to Crown of the Eyes, Corrupted, ideally with increased maximum life. Make sure it has a high ES roll as well. That is very important. Extra accuracy rolls on it are good as well. So don't just get a cheap one. Try to get a good one. Next up, we have the Apostate. This is how we're scaling all of our life. The rolls on this are not terribly important, but high Ellie res is nice. This one I paid like 2 div for because it was already corrupted and 6 linked. And so this was a really good steal. Ideally, you would probably want a different quality on there, like quality grants cold resistances or something like that. For our gloves, we're going for rare gloves with high ES, high max life, and then resistances on the back. This one has int. That's not ideal. Instead, you would probably want lightning res plus like veiled double damage while focused, or something like that would be really good. Actually, I think gloves is veiled attack and cast speed while focused, which again, just as good. You could also go for a triple res on here to make the rest of your resistances easier to fill. On the boots, you are going to want boots. You need to craft boots with life, ES, double res, and then you're going to beastcraft on aspect of the spider, and then benchcraft on movement speed and avoid chance to be chilled. On our Zoph's blood, we are going to want a corrupted Zoph's blood with ideally would be life catalyzed for increased max life, and then cover enemies with ash when they hit you, and fizz damage taken as fire damage as well as elemental overload. We're going to want one Valerian Moonstone Ring. If you can get one corrupted with bleeding or poison cannot be inflicted on you, that's great. We're going to want an Anathema. You can also get one with bleeding or poison cannot be inflicted on you. That is also great. We're going to run a Hunter Stygian Vice. These are not too terrible to make. You're just going to craft triple res Stygian Vice, Harvest, Reforge Life for T1 Life, and Hunter Slam. If you don't get something good, sell it, start a new one. You're ideally looking for that percent life, flat life, tri-res, and then increased elemental damage with attack skills, benchcraft. Your eye jewel here, this one is actually very important. It has to have armor, it has to have phasing. Outside of that, life is great. Obviously, we're a life stacker. Increased effective lightning ailments with Shaper of the Storms means bigger shocks, more damage. And then damage penetrates corruptions that are also good. You're going to want a tincture with increased effect and damage multi. It needs to be a prismatic tincture, not the ignite tincture. Prismatic tincture is better because only about half of our damage comes from the ignite itself. That series promise is more damage. Bottled Faith is more damage. Cinder Swallow, Flask. These are a little spendy to get a good one. I did think I spent 6 div on this one. You do want enemies ignited to have malediction, enemies ignited to take more damage, and ideally recover life when you kill an enemy during the effect. But the recover life is the least important part of this flask. And finally, a Quicksilver Flask with 15% of damage taken from hits is leached as life during effect. We are running overleach by being under our unreserved life cap, but locked at low life from petrified blood. And so having a full sustain of leech while getting hit is very, very good. For our graphs, we're going to want an increased max life, increased fizz damage reduction, hardening ul graph. This is important because we are using this to maintain 100% uptime on our endurance charges. We're going to want a jolting Eshcraft with +4 levels of skills and +3 or +4 maximum jolt buffs, as well as either flat lightning damage or something else useful on the prefix on that one. Our cluster jewel is prismatic heart smoking remains and widespread destruction. We're running immutable force and blood notch. The immutable force, you want one that's like over like 560% to get a 2 server tick frame stun, or over 960% chance to get a 1 server tick frame stun, and then a blood notch with a minimum of 58% damage from stunning hits recovered as life, so that we have 100% damage recoup. Obviously, a 59 or a 60 is a little bit of over recoup, doesn't hurt at all. We are running Impossible Escape to take advantage of our Elegant Hubris. We're running a Foulborn Red Dream with passives grant max life. And finally, a Thread of Hope, which we'll go over in the passive tree. Now, on our passive tree here, our Thread of Hope we're using to take Golem Commander, Breath of Lightning, Breath of Flames. And on our Elegant Hubris, we are looking for damaging nodes over here, as well as over here. We're using an Impossible Escape avatar to take these 2 nodes. You can also look at Impossible Escape Glancing Blows to get access to these 2 nodes. We have a Timeless Jewel Search in here. Frenzy is the only required notable. The rest of them are just increases in damage, and they're all pretty significant. This is 2%, this is 2.5%, this is 3.6%, and then this is how we manage our Frenzy charge gain. So we are using Frenzy and Endurance charges from our Ul Graph, Frenzy charges from our Supreme Ostentation. If you want to search for the Timeless Jewel, you just come in here and hit search. That's the best one. It goes down from there, and it's based on the nodes that you have filtered. If, for example, you wanted to add these nodes in and look at Glancing Blows, you would take these nodes away and instead come over to find Timeless Jewel and hit search, and then you'll find ones up here as they go down the list. But for right now, we are using the avatar of Flame, Forbidden Flesh, or Impossible Escape, because that does give us access to nomadic teachings, which is very, very good. We did also come over here and grab some chaos res on this node right here. It is 2 points to get that, but 37% chaos res is hard to pass up on. Now on our passage tree, you'll note we have a lot of tattoos because we're using Supreme Ostentation skill attribute to do nothing. All of these tattoos are chance to consume corpses to recover 10% maximum life. It's just nice, cheap tattoo, quality of life on clear. If you want to spend a little bit more, you can use these to cap out your chaos res without a flask. You can also use these to reduce critical strike damage that you would take. And so you can do a lot with all these tattoos. For our rune graphs here, we are running Treachery on here. We are running Rune Graph to the Warp on here. This is absolutely required. And we're running Rune Graph to the Soul Wick over here, basically required. The rest of our tattoos are increased fire damage and increased fire res. Now these fire res tattoos are a little expensive, but they are important. They are how you are scaling your life through Foulborn the Red Dream, along with resistances that are available on the tree itself over here. Again, our Supreme Ostentation has to be locked in down here. There's nowhere else to put it good on the tree. And do make sure that you get every life mastery so that you get 10% increased more life for having all 6 life masteries. Also, the U count is low life at 55% of maximum life or below is very, very strong for the build, as well as the 10% or 15% increased max life, because of course Apostate does not have a life modifier on it. We are taking Elemental Mastery for the increased exposure. Exposure coming from Max Rage with Grey Wind. You could run Exposure on hit on your gloves instead, but I really, really like the Ignite spread. And so I'm okay with less uptime on Exposure while we're mapping and getting the Ignite spread there instead. Also note Rage Mastery and Max Rage from Battle Trance. That is because Grey Wind does give us dot multi for maximum for each rage that we have. And so Rage is very, very important. Now the tree doesn't really have a lot of flexibility. You could run this at lower level by literally just pulling out points off of the tree down here from life. You can pull life from up here. So 88 really to get the build running comfortably. Also to note, you do have to run the Chaos Bloodline for the build. So for Ascendancies, we are running Liege of the Primordial, Shaper of Storms, and Shaper of Flames. These are all required for the build. I know Mastermind of Discord and Convergence are nice, but those are not options for us. And then we are coming down here and we are taking the Chaos Bloodline and getting Corruption's Embrace. Corruption's Embrace does 3 things for us. Number 1, it gives us access to Shepherd of Souls. Shepherd of Souls reduces the Vaal skill cost of our abilities, making it much easier for us to guarantee uptime on our Vaal Earthquake. Now, you can run the build without Shepherd of Souls, but it feels bad. So make sure that you do have 4 corrupted items. Now, if you have 6 corrupted items, you get Everlasting Sacrifice, which is 5% to all max res. We are refilling our ES through either Recharge when we're fighting nothing or Divine Shield when we are fighting something. Note, you do have to have armor on your Hypnotic Jewel in order for Divine Shield to give you access to Energy Shield so that you can recharge it. And then finally, you can use 8 corrupted items and get Sacrifice of Blood. That is an alternative version of the build. If you do go with Sacrifice of Blood, you would not run Petrified Blood, but you do have the advantage of getting big blood barriers because we do have a ton of regen. And so that's the third thing you can do with that. I don't think that is better overall for the build because Bloodlust is such a strong support for us if we're running a life-based build running on low life, but that is an option that you can do with the Ascendancy. Now for our skills. We are running Alchemist Mark, Elemental Weakness and Flammability on Arcanist Brand, with the Anathema being responsible for making sure that we have access to those curses. Running Vaal Smite with Shield Charge and Combustion. Shield Charge is our movement ability. Vaal Smite gives us a huge aura that makes us do 4 million more damage. And then, of course, we have Combustion, which is another 2 million damage-ish. So this is a very, very important link here. Precision, Enlightened, Arrogance, and Tempest Shield. Tempest Shield gives us immunity to shock as well as some spell block, which is always nice to have. Arrogance to push all this over to life, and Enlightened to make sure that we are unreserved life is higher than low life recoverable, so that we do have Overleech. Vaal Earthquake is bound with Awaken, LA damage with attacks. Ruthless, Fortify, Cruelty, and Bloodthirst. Fortify is the weakest link here, but Fortify is so strong. Bloodthirst is a great link for us on low life, and then of course Awaken, Elemental damage with attacks makes us immune to LA Reflect, which is comfy. Do note you cannot run LA Reflect maps with shield charge if you do not void manipulation the shield charge and then not worry about combustion. And so just, you can run the LA Reflect, just don't shield charge or Vaal Smite. Otherwise, you go splat. Golems are Flame Golem, Ice Golem, Lightning Golem, and Chaos Golem. You could, if you're feeling a little squishy, run instead of Lightning Golem. Definitely the best one to sacrifice. You could run a Stone Golem of Safeguarding here if you were feeling a little squishy on the build. Want to give up some damage. Blood and Sand Blood Stance for the increased AoE damage, and Petrified Blood for the splitting of the life and spreading our damage out so that we can deal with it through recovery. Finally, Arctic Armor makes us immune to freeze. We cannot use Brine King, so do not run Brine King with the build. It does brick Blood Notch and Mutable Force, but Arctic Armor gives us tremendous amounts of damage while we're standing still, and a lot of really high damaging abilities we can just flat tank as long as you're standing still. Fizz damage and fire damage reduction is huge from Arctic Armor. Mostly we're just using this for the fact that we can chill targets around us and gain immunity to freeze. And finally, Aspect of the Spider on the boots for the increased damage and the speed reduction from Aspect of the spider webs. And so that is how we're going to set up the whole build. Again, we're looking at about 32 million DPS at full ramp on a target with curses down, and 15 million of that is our ignite damage, 12 million of that is our Vaal Earthquake Aftershocks. When you're playing the build, things to note. When you hit your Aftershock, your Vaal Earthquake, you'll have a timer up here. This timer will count down how long you have to go before the buff goes away. But also you have a number of charge counters on the Aftershocks as they trigger. Aftershocks are all of your damage. They're a huge AoE. They do 5 times the damage of a normal Earthquake. But as you can see, our attack speed is specifically timed so that the timer is in line with the Aftershocks. If your attack speed is too high, you'll burn through the Aftershocks too fast, and then you won't be able to redo the Vaal Earthquake. Our overlap is 12 seconds duration, and then like 14.x seconds on the soul prevention. I don't see it on here. It's over here. So our soul gain prevention on Vaal Earthquake. This is not correct. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. This is correct. 12-second duration, 9-second soul gain prevention. So you've got 3 seconds to generate souls. We generate 2 souls a second, so coincidentally enough, it costs 6 souls, and we have 100% uptime. If it was burning through Aftershocks faster than the secondary duration, then you would have a huge lull in your damage. So make sure that you keep your attack rate low enough. Don't go and try to Giga Juice attack speed on the build. It's not going to work out in your favor. And so that is there by design. We do have a nice big AoE on the Vaal Earthquake. You do have the option, alternatively, if you want to run Awakened Increased Area of Effect. It is not a terrible damage gem to begin with. You can swap out either Fortify if you're more defensive, or Bloodthirst if you're less defensive, and you can pump this up to a nice almost 4 meter AoE, just as a secondary option on what you can do with the skill as well. But as you're playing, you are just going to hit Vaal Earthquake, and then when this timer gets down to 3 seconds or so, you're going to start generating souls again, and then you can immediately Vaal Earthquake as soon as it is available. Now, if you're fighting stuff, you're going to be hitting, killing stuff, you're just going to fill up your Vaal souls immediately very quickly, and so that's not a problem at all. You will generate a bank of souls for Vaal Smite. Make sure you're saving Vaal Smite only for like big, massive screen clears or for bossing. That's what you're going to primarily use that for. And then finally, of course, we are using Arcanist Brand to do our curses. At the beginning of the map, you will not have any souls, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so it goes back and forth here. So you would have to wait 6 seconds at the beginning of the map before you can Vaal Earthquake. Or you can just run out there and Earthquake stuff. It still hits really hard. That'll generate your souls, and then you can immediately engage. All of our damage mitigation is through recovery and recoup. and regen. So we've got really good ways to deal with damage over time. We've got really good ways to deal with hits, and we've got really good ways to deal with tons of incoming hits. But we only have one crit reduction node on the build right here. And so until you get tattoos to fill out your crit reduction, it is going to be a little squishier in crit map, so keep that in mind. Now, this build has been a lot of fun to play. I hope y'all enjoy it. If you have any questions or anything, come by Twitch, come by YouTube, and ask. I'm happy to help. Thank y'all very much for watching. Peace.